What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of Crime in Court USA. I'm recording this on May 1st, 2024. I'm your host, Mundo Carrillo, and I hope you guys are doing well. I've been doing okay. I've been having these migraines. Well, I'm not doing so great, I guess. I've been having these migraines lately that aren't totally debilitating, but I feel like I'm in a trance. You know, like the last few days I've just been, like, I've never tried psychedelics, but I feel like this might be what they're like, in a way. Anyways, so I'm going to try to plow through this podcast and see what happens. The show must go on, after all. So, coast to coast, we've seen a lot of these encampments. There have been these protests, these Palestine protests going on at college campuses across America and really across the world for some time now. But now it seems lately these students are starting to camp out in various places across campus. And that's obviously not taken very well by the schools, and they're being broken up by police, and a lot of students are getting hurt. A lot of students are clashing with each other. There's a lot of pro-Israel demonstrators and a lot of pro-Palestine demonstrators going at it, and some cops are getting injured as well. So we'll start on the West Coast. So early Wednesday morning at UCLA, a bunch of pro-Israel counter demonstrators attacked an encampment of pro-Palestine demonstrators who were camped out there on the campus, and it got pretty violent, I think, with skirmishes just kind of breaking out in various areas. And the police response to that is actually coming under a lot of criticism. According to the LA Times, it took police about 3 hours to get everything under control. Initially, there was really no one there, a few campus police officers and a few unarmed security officers who weren't even there to sort of patrol any kind of violence or anything breaking out. They were there to just protect the buildings. So anyways, that gets under control. There's a lot of cops finally move in from different departments in Los Angeles, and they finally make some arrests and kind of bring order to the place. But the UC president, Michael V. Drake, so he's the president of the entire University of California system, so not just UCLA, he is asking for an independent review of UCLA's response to the incident, because I think a lot of people believe that it got out of hand unnecessarily when all the violence and the clashing could have been prevented. So the camp started last Thursday. So it was going on for almost a week, and the school was mostly hands off with it. And I think that's probably going to be part of the investigation as well. Is did you do enough to maybe curb anything illegal going on or any kind of trespassing going on in the first place? It's funny because meanwhile, on the other side of town at the University of Southern California, USC, students were getting arrested at a similar kind of encampment. So that kind of shows the dichotomy there between the two universities. So a couple days ago as well, students at Columbia University in New York, they occupied Hamilton Hall. It took them about 20 hours. They took over this building, and about 20 hours later is when arrests started happening. So I'm noticing kind of a theme here with the sort of late police response. And I think the people in charge at Columbia University said, well, we kind of had to call the police. And it's like, yeah, you kind of had to call the police, didn't you? Things were clearly getting out of hand. And so people took over this building. They caused a lot of damage, a lot of vandalism. There was a graffiti and a lot of just, damage done to this building. And so they had to move in and start cracking skulls and making arrests. It was actually the NYPD that eventually stepped in there, and not just the campus police department, right? You need to call in the big guns when something like this goes down. In fact, in New Mexico, at the University of New Mexico, State Police actually had to crack some skulls there. I don't know. I just don't want to say arrest. Arrest just sounds boring. We'll say crack some skulls. Proverbially crack some skulls. No, they made some arrests at the Student Union building there as well. It's probably considered trespassing. I think it is. I mean, there are ways to protest in public without trespassing or causing delays, because now at Columbia, I mean, there's big disarray going on there. Finals are coming up, and students, I mean, you got to study for that. Classes are getting canceled. In fact, classes got canceled Wednesday today at UCLA. So this is causing some academic troubles for people who aren't even involved with any of these things in the first place. People just want to go and they want to study, they want to take their finals, they want to just, go on with their college life, and this is disrupting it across the board. I did mention earlier that that officers were getting hurt as well, and I read a story. I don't see the source right here in my notes. I'm sorry, but 4 officers were injured trying to break things up at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, UW Madison. I'm seeing here now, hundreds of people got arrested at Columbia, 109 people, according to the New York Times. Other reports say hundreds of people, which I guess 109 is technically hundreds because it's more than 100. Anyway, a lot of arrests going down across the nation, in Texas as well, everywhere. And I saw a story too in the LA Times, or maybe, I don't know where it was, whatever. You guys come here for the real shit, where I cite my exact sources. But a lot of schools are doing this in the Middle East as well. So this is really going on globally, as far as I can tell. And although protesting is great, protesting is awesome, but doing it lawfully is the way to go, and doing it in a way that doesn't disrupt other people's lives is probably also the best way to go about it. And I don't know what there is to be gained by taking over a building and vandalizing it. I don't know what that does for the war in the Middle East exactly, besides absolutely nothing. And look, man, I'm just going to call it what this is now. Again, I know a lot of people are rightfully protesting and rightfully are doing what they believe in. That's great. That's awesome. But I've been to so many protests, you guys, where people are there just to cause a ruckus. We all know this, and we all know those people. They show up to protest on purpose, no matter what's going on. Like, for example, when I was covering a protest in Albuquerque after George Floyd was killed in Minnesota, it was a peaceful protest. It was great. People were marching, just being peaceful. Everything was all good. The cops were staying at an arm's length, just making sure everyone was safe, but also trying not to get too involved because, there was a little bit of heat on them as well because it involved a cop. And it was all good until later on when a bunch of shitheads showed up and started breaking windows and stuff. And I think that's what's going on here is people are peacefully protesting, right? Which is their right to do. And then people are coming over and just kind of fucking it up. Like these guys who were, these guys who broke up this camp at UCLA, they kind of were there to fuck it up. I mean, they used violence in this case. Instead of peacefully counter-protesting, they chose to not do that. They chose to wear like black and white outfits, and they chose the wrong way. Same with the kids who took over this building at Columbia. Vandalizing a building is not going to do anything. Damaging a building is not going to do anything. I don't know what you think that's going to come of that, other than maybe ruining your own academic career. Because I wonder, I'm sure these kids are going to get kicked out of school, and then what? For what reason? Like, well, was it worth it? Was it worth it to have to go to some other school at the very least, to maybe even drop out at the worst? I mean, what? Why? I mean, for what? To what end? Stuff's going crazy all over the place, and I just don't see why. I really, a lot of these cases, I don't see why. Especially now we're getting cops are being injured, people are being injured. You're protesting violence. You're protesting a violent war that's going on the other side of the world, and you're using violence yourself. You're protesting violence with violence. That doesn't make any sense. Look at all the great leaders, right, who have done peaceful protesting. Gandhi, MLK, the list goes on. They wouldn't have done something like this at all. That's not what they stood for. So, I don't know, guys. Get it together. Get it together. Now I know it's easy to punch down on college kids, right? It's actually kind of fun, not just easy. Everyone loves to do it. Like, oh, college students, they're so dumb, blah, blah, blah. And I'm usually sensitive to that because I think, these kids here who are protesting, these students, are but a small fraction of the actual student population, right? Most students just want to go about their lives, just go to class, study, go to work, whatever they got to do. They're not involved in this at all. So every college student shouldn't be grouped into this, but I just don't know. I just don't know if they're too wise into what's really going on here or how to really stop it. I just think they're causing a ruckus and possibly ruining things for themselves and for others for no reason. It really, there just seems to be no reason for this. You're not going to stop Netanyahu and droning innocent people by doing this. You're not going to stop our military investment in Israel by doing this. You're not going to stop anything. That's just the cold hard truth, man. I'm sorry. I'm an old man. I'm an old man yelling at clouds, guys. That's what I've become already. I don't know. Let's move on. Let's get a little bit of Trump in here. So he he's been facing jail time for a while now, right, with all these trials. However, he might get into the slammer a lot sooner if he violates this gag order again in his Stormy Daniels hush money case. Judge Juan Marchan has warned him against talking shit against like court staffers and witnesses, and just stop. He's like, just stop talking shit about people involved in this case or in this courthouse, or stop talking shit about my daughter too, because he's talking shit about the judge's daughter, who I guess has ties to Democratic candidates or something. I don't know. But he's like, you got to stop, or else, you know, I keep fining you. The most I could do is $1,000 per each transgression. And if that doesn't work, I have no choice but to throw you in jail. So he was fighting like, dude, you violate this one more time, you're going to jail for contempt of court for not listening to the judge's orders. Sorry, what else am I supposed to do? So that's happening there. And finally, if you guys watch Quiet on Set, it was this docuseries. I may have mentioned this on the show before, but it was this docuseries about the like early 2000s, mid 2000s Nickelodeon shows, late 90s stuff too. And specifically about Dan Schneider, who was the producer of all those shows, and I guess just the mayhem and just the dysfunction that was going on and the abuse that was going on to the young child stars. Yeah, just a whole bunch of basically allegations saying he fostered this environment of abuse and where these pedophiles were able to just run rampant. And he was a big fan of feet, I guess, of there's a lot of children's feet in the frames. I don't know. Anyways, he is suing the producers of that show, saying it was just a hit job. Now, he has come out since that show came out, or I guess since that show was being put together, because his comments were put into the show. He has, I guess, taken some sort of accountability for it, saying, like, yeah, like, you know, I'm sorry if I was a bad boss, and so on and so forth. But he did go on to saying this through this lawsuit that it was a hit job, and that the documentary or the docuseries went above and beyond the facts and really tried to paint him in a more, I guess, negative light, saying that he was responsible for these predators getting on set when he, I guess, had nothing, or says he had nothing to do with that. So yeah, that's going on there. That whole thing lives on. I figured he was going to sue, because I know they as I was watching this, I know that they probably tried to get whatever, you know, get comments from him and all that, but it didn't seem like his side was in it too much, or at least anyone kind of defending him. Maybe he's not worth any kind of defense at all, but it didn't seem, from a journalistic standpoint, entirely fair. Again, maybe it's not. I mean, maybe he was just that big a monster and you can't make it entirely that fair. Like, I've written stories about child molesters before. You just say, it's only so much you can do, right? So I don't know, but when I was watching this, again, journalistic standards, you know, you got to be completely fair to both sides. Sometimes it's hard, or not hard, but sometimes the evidence is very stacked against the other person. Like, there's no way Dan Schneider gets out of this without looking like a creep or without looking like an abuser. But I do think that maybe it did go a little too far, and I was thinking, I don't know, he might want to sue for this. I don't know if he has any grounds for anything, but, well, the lawsuit's been filed. All right, guys, I think that is all for this week. Really appreciate you guys listening. Thank you to the Patreon supporters, Daniel, Tony, Mike, Andres, and Emily. Really appreciate you guys. If you guys want to support me, head over to patreon.com/crimeandcourtusa, where you can get access to exclusive episodes for just $1. All right, guys. Until next time, my name is Mundo, and I'm out. Peace.